Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to English with LinguaTrip, and today we're gonna learn 20 beautiful, well, not very beautiful, but 20 useful expressions in English that you can start using now and be super cool, I guess. If you're ready, let's do it. The first one is, I'm all ears. I'm all ears. A funny sort of picture comes to mind. It's like you have a very small head and small face, no eyes, no nose, no mouth, and then massive ears. I'm all ears. But no, that's not it. I'm all ears means I'm ready to listen and really pay attention to you. If you really want to tell me something, I can tell you, look, I'm all ears. Tell me your story.
I'm all ears.
Number 2 is one of my favorite ones, actually. Cut to the chase. Cut to the chase. So let me try to explain this in the best way possible. For example, I want to tell you something, or maybe I want to ask you for something. Maybe I want to ask you for help. And I don't do it directly. I don't say, hey, can you help me? I start telling you this long story that has nothing to do with anything. Just to kind of transition into sort of asking you for help, right? Oh, you know, last week I found out some bad news and I was blah, 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 whatever. And you can tell me, hey, cut to the chase. What do you want? Right? Stop telling me these stories. Cut to the chase. Get to the point. Right? What do you want?
Let's cut to the chase, shall we?
Number 3, to get a kick out of something. So to get a kick out of something could mean two things. The first one is just experience pleasure when doing something, or I mean, I guess that would be the best way to explain it. And it could mean maybe something is funny and you're still enjoying yourself because you're laughing, or maybe you're just enjoying doing something. For example, I get a kick out of watching comedy shows. Like, I really like and enjoy doing it because it's funny and I laugh, but that's why it's enjoyable.
You really get a kick out of yourself, don't you?
The next one is very easy. To have a blast. To have a blast is basically to have fun on steroids. You have fun, you know, times 10, that's to have a blast. So it's the same thing, as just a little stronger. There's more emotion behind it. Like, oh, I had so much fun. That's great. I had a blast. Sounds a little stronger, but means the same thing. We had a blast at the concert last night.
Yeah, you guys are gonna have a blast.
Keep your fingers crossed. Keep your fingers crossed. Whoa, how do I explain this? You know, it's sort of like, I hope something happens. I really hope and pray something happens, so I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed. Kind of like for good luck. You know what I mean? Let's say you and I are going on a trip, and we don't know if the weather is going to be good or not. So, you know, I can say, keep your fingers crossed for good weather on our trip, right? Keep your fingers crossed.
All right, keep your fingers crossed.
Learning expressions like these ones is pretty important for everyone. You know, whether you're a beginner or an intermediate level student, I think it's very important. And you know, when you're just starting out, it could be very confusing and complicated, and it's very important to stay motivated and be really driven and remember why you're doing it, and also have the right program and the right approach and the right people that can, you know, keep it fun and keep you motivated. And that is why I would like to invite you guys, for all my beginners, to participate in my online course from elementary to intermediate. If you want to get to that solid intermediate level but you don't really know what to do, I got you. And you can check out the link in the description box under this whole video thing to learn more about it and see if it's right for you. But if it's not right for you and you're a little further along, you're closer to intermediate, maybe you're pre-intermediate, intermediate, or maybe upper intermediate, and you feel like you're stuck, you're doing the same things but it's not really working for you anymore, and you don't really know how to go about it anymore, well, don't worry, I got you too. And you can actually experience our revolutionary online course with the challenge mode from intermediate to advanced. We just updated it. I mean, it's incredible. And speaking of the challenge mode, it's very exciting to learn English and get better and level up and also compete. It gives this experience a little, you know, a little flavor, and I really like that. We're spicing it up. So if you're ready to take it to the next level, check out the links in the description box below, and let's get back to these expressions. The next one, let's call it a day. You and I have been working all day and we're tired, and I think it's time to finish. Let's call it a day. Let's finish doing everything we're doing for the day and come back tomorrow. Let's call it a day. We're done.
Let's call it a day.
Long story short. Long story short is, the full expression is to make a long story short, but we just kind of say long story short, just like as standalone expression. Long story short is basically like, I'm not gonna tell you the whole story, I'm just gonna get to the juicy part, like the main part. Long story short. Long story short, we ended up lost in the middle of the city, for example. I don't know what that story was, but that's just kind of what it is.
Long story short, we no longer need a computer in this department.
The next one is no way. No way. So, I mean, you know, it could mean different things. Mostly people use it to not necessarily express disbelief, which you could also do. Like, oh, I heard he won the lottery. No way. Like, I do not believe this. You could. Or you could also sort of like say no way when you mean, seriously? Wow, that's unbelievable, but in a good way. For example, you come to me and you say, hey, I got 120 on my TOEFL exam. And I can be like, no way, that's so cool. And by no way, I mean, it's not that I doubted you, I didn't doubt you, but it's just incredible. It's so incredible, I am shocked, but not in a bad way, because I always believed in you. I think you know what I mean. I'm just kind of going on the rant here.
No way. Are you kidding?
The next one is to each their own, which, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. It kind of mean, you know, it's sort of like everyone has their own preferences and different people like different things. To each their own. To each their own. You like it, but I don't like it. I don't like the same thing. But you know what? To each their own.
That sounds like a really cool thing, and to each their own.
Yeah.
Back to the drawing board. Back to the drawing board. Basically, when you and I are working on an idea and we're pursuing an idea, but then it doesn't work, you know, you can say, all right, back to the drawing board. We need a new idea. We're going back to the starting point to work on a new idea. Back to the drawing board. Like back to, there's also another one that's kind of similar, another expression, and that's back to square one. Back to square one, which is like, once again, same thing, back to the starting point.
You might have to go back to the drawing board.
The next one is by the way. By the way is sort of like a filler when you want to introduce an additional idea to something else. You know, or maybe if you want to ask like a clarifying question in the middle of the conversation, you know, oh my god, we had so much fun last night. You know, I went to this concert and I had a blast. And I can be like, oh, that's so cool. By the way, I remember you told me you wanted to invite Peter to the concert. Did he go with you? I said, by the way, I'm kind of attaching a clarifying question or, you know, a new idea to this conversation that we're having. Or it could be completely unrelated. No, blah, blah, blah. We're talking. By the way, have you seen my keys? Can't find them anywhere.
Oh, by the way, this is a friend of mine, Tree.
The next one is to cut corners. So to cut corners, basically, okay, let's picture you and I are racing in cars, right? Need for Speed style, right? And there's a left turn, right? We have to turn left. For you, it's different, but my left, right? We have to turn. We have to make this turn. And it's like, boom, boom, 90 degrees, right? So I go like that. I go 90 degrees, but you're cutting the corner, right? You kind of, maybe you're drifting to, and you end up in front of me, right? So to cut corners basically means to sort of sacrifice something in order to make something else easier or better or whatever the case may be. Let me give you a more specific example. Let's say I'm making t-shirts, right? And I want to make the whole process, the production of it, I want to make it cheaper for myself. So maybe I'll pick a cheaper fabric and it's not going to feel nice. Maybe I try to decide to save money on designs and they don't look as good. I'm cutting corners, right? I'm sacrificing something in order to make it cheaper for myself. Or a very good example of cutting corners is when you have to do some work and you're just trying to do it as fast as you can, and you sacrifice, the quality of whatever you're doing, right? You're cutting corners only because you want it to be as fast as possible.
Look, I don't need to cut corners, Kev. I can make weight.
The next one is to get the hang of something. When you're just starting a new hobby or any new activity and you stick with it for a while, for some time, right? And then you feel like you're starting to get better at it. You're a little more confident. Let's say let's say you want to learn how to play a song on, let's say, guitar, right? So let's say the song is Other Side by V Always Here. Great song, by the way. And you're learning the chords and you're switching, you're transitioning between the chords, and it's kind of slow because you're just starting out. But then after some time, maybe you practice for a week and then you're getting kind of better and it's sounding pretty nice. You can say, wow, I'm getting the hang of this, right? I'm getting better.
Do you know, I think I'm beginning to get the hang of this flying business.
The next one is to go the extra mile. When you do something extra, something that you maybe were not supposed to, or maybe no one expected you to do, in any kind of relationship. For example, you're telling me right now that tomorrow you're flying into LAX to visit, right, at 3 p.m. and you ask me to pick you up at the airport, which if you know Los Angeles, I probably won't do. But let's say, for the sake of this conversation, let's say yes, I'll pick you up at the airport, no problem. And you're flying in from South Korea, right? That's a massive flight, like 15 hours or something like that, right? So I know this, right? You only asked me to pick you up, but I know you're probably really hungry. So I bring you food. I pick you up, you get in my car, and I'm like, here's food. I know you had a really long flight. You were just on a really long flight and you're probably hungry, so here's food. That's an example of me going the extra mile. You didn't ask me for it, but I still did it. You know what I'm saying?
Go the extra mile!
The next one is, it goes without saying. It goes without saying. Basically, that means people can understand this without you having to say it. It goes without saying. Everyone understands this. You don't have to say it. It goes without saying. Let's say you're a really bad student. Really bad. Not because you're dumb. No, you're not dumb. You're very smart, actually. You're just very lazy. So your grades are really bad. And you have a very important exam coming up, right? And you never study for anything. But this exam is very important. So all of us, your friends, right? We're just, sitting here. We're like, yeah, it goes without saying you need to study for the exam. Because it's very important, and you usually don't study for stuff. Everyone understands it. Everyone knows it. You don't have to say it out loud. It goes without saying.
It goes without saying that Graft is incompatible with my programming.
And if you agree with us, that means all of us and you, we're on the same page. On the same page. To be on the same page means we agree on the same thing. We see something the same way. Right? We agree. We're on the same page. We have aligning interests or opinions. Let's say you and I are on a date, right? You and I, we're on a date right now. And you can be like, hey, Venya, do you want kids? And I'll be like, no. And then you're like, oh, great. I don't want any kids either. We're on the same page, right? So we kind of agree on this one thing, right? So for the sake of this particular conversation, we're on the same page. Am I speaking too fast?
I'm glad we're on the same page.
The next one is the best of both worlds. Hannah Montana. It's sort of like, you do this and you do that, and it's wonderful. Let me give you an example. By working part-time She gets the best of both worlds. A job she loves, and time for family. Boom. Best of both worlds.
Because it's the best of both worlds.
Time flies. Time flies. When people say time flies, we basically mean that time is going by way too fast. Time flies. God. These kids, they grow up so fast. My younger brother, let me tell you a little bit about my personal life. My younger brother, he was born in 2006, right? So this year he's about to be 17. Yo. Now, that was not scripted or planned. I want to say time flies, because that's crazy. But there's also a really cool expression that we like to use. Time flies when you're having fun. Time flies when you're having fun, which means when it's fun, when you're having fun, time goes by really fast. You barely notice it. Time flies.
Jimmy, time flies.
Up in the air. When something is up in the air, it doesn't mean it's flying. But it could, I guess. But that's besides the point. So when we say that something is up in the air, that means it hasn't been decided yet. It's undecided, right? The date for the party is still up in the air. Like, we don't know what date. We don't know when the party is because we haven't decided yet. April 1st? April 2nd? April 3rd? I don't know. It's up in the air. Hasn't been decided yet.
Things are a little bit up in the air.
And the last one is, what's done is done. What's done is done. You know, let's say you did something wrong and hurt my feelings or offended me in some way, and then you want to say sorry, you apologize to me, and I can say, what's done is done. You know, what's done is done. We can't change the past. What's done is done. Basically, I don't really accept your apologies. What's done is done. Or maybe I am. It really depends on the context and how I say it, you know. But yeah, what's done is done. Basically means we can't go back in time and change it. What's done is done. Whatever.
What's done is done.
And this is it. Thank you guys so much for sticking around. This one is pretty crazy because I feel like my mind is all over the place. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I try to keep it chill and casual, and yeah, you know, I just want you guys to live your best life in English and express yourself and stay true to yourself and do it in a way that is not boring, you know, because a lot English can be boring, especially if you, I'm not even gonna go into that. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys in the next video. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so by clicking the, or whatever, I don't even know how YouTube, I don't know what YouTube looks like right now, but the subscribe button, I think it's stayed, right? So you can hit that to subscribe if you haven't done that yet, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.